lead us in a word of prayer for our meeting to be all that it needs to be. All right, our sisters got our hands up. Okay, lead us, lead us, lead us.
Okay, let's pray. Dear God, I thank you for this time, and I thank you for giving us this opportunity for this live meeting. And we pray that you guide us and bless each and everybody that's on live. I pray in God's name, amen.
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 Amen, amen. All right, I am going.
Amen.
Great. So I'm going to mute all the mics right now, and I'm going to go in to share with you guys what's on my heart. Avalonic rooms. All right, so this group was created out of a desire to touch the lives of people. As a young man, I had a mentor who really stepped into the picture. I really didn't have much direction, and I really did not have much guidance. And I ran into a bishop who actually really laid out a great foundation for my life and put me on course, because I really had no idea how to structure my life. I was just a teenager getting involved in teenager stuff and looking for the next hot party to go to, and didn't have any kind of vision goal. I wanted to go to college, but my parents could not afford to send me to college. And it was a really tough situation. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I know I had a love for business, but I was not sure how I was going to do that. And I ran into a mentor, and he got me on the path of studying and reading and learning. And that was a real major turning point for me, because I realized that everything I wanted to become and every challenge I wanted to overcome, there's other people in the world that has already done this, and they've laid a platform, they've laid a path for others who desire to achieve, to also do the same thing that they've done. And having that knowledge and understanding was a real life-changing experience for me. It was a real game changer. People that don't have an awareness of the need for mentors and the need for study and the need for just really studying the path of achievement and success, they're liable to go into any direction, and they're liable to, not maximize on their life in the greatest way possible. A mentor and having a mentor and having a path laid out for you really, really helps you to maximize your potential and all that you could possibly do with your life. It pulls the most out of you. They could still achieve and succeed without a mentor, but a mentor really lays out a path and some guidelines that you could follow to really maximize your possibilities of growing and entering into a greater purpose and greater achievement. So I started looking for life management strategies to help me get the most out of my life, because really and truly, family, you got to have, it's good to have, it's healthy to have a strategy that works. And if you have a strategy that works, it really helps you to move into purpose and into achievement a lot more, in a lot quicker way, and in a lot more progressive and powerful way. All right, so we're gonna go over the M theory and the full meaning of it. And does everyone have a pen and paper? All right. I see that. I see that. You guys got your paperwork? Good, 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 good. Awesome. All right. So in our M theory, the first M is master. The first M is master. And the reason why the first M is master is because God pretty much is our designer, our creator. When he designed us and made us, he knew exactly what he had in mind for us to go into the world and to achieve, okay? He had exactly a specific intentional thought in mind when he made every last one of us. And you want to be able to know who your master is, who your creator is. You want to be able to develop a relationship with him so that you could get the necessary guidance and the necessary insight into why you're here, okay? The scriptures tell us clearly that those that seek me will find me. Those that seek me will find me. And I want you guys to write that down. Those that seek me will find me. And if you seek God with all of your heart, you will find him. Okay, so finding God is reserved for the people that seek him. Okay, if you reverse that, finding God is reserved for the people who seek him. All right. I want to encourage every last one of you, don't embrace spirituality or religion just because your mother told you to, or your father told you to, or you grew up hearing, that you need to go to church here or go there. Don't do it for those reasons. Do it for yourself. Do it because it's important that you know for your individual life, the reality of who God is, okay? And the scriptures clearly tell us that if we seek God with all of our hearts, we'll find him, okay? And who is more important for us to know other than the person who designed us and created us with a purpose, right? There's no one else that's more vitally important for us to know but God. And God will give us the blueprint for our life. He'll help us to know what path to go on, and give us guidance. I remember in my journey, there's reasons why I personally believe that God is. And all of you will have to answer that question for yourself. I don't want to follow a path that is just based on other people telling me to, or my parents or my friends. I want to follow a path that I know for myself is true because I've proven it to myself, right? There's certain things that we can do as humans, and there's other things that are impossible or beyond us, that we're limited. And when we reach those points in life, that's where we need God to step in, okay, and prove himself and show his mighty power, okay? And so I remember when my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, she was sick and she stopped eating. I mean, this kid stopped eating. She would only drink. She just stopped eating. She would spit out anything solid we gave her. She was about 5-6 years old. And this child, we were about to take her to the doctor because there was days going and she was just getting worse. We thought she was going to get better. We thought it was just a phase or a minor thing. And this child refused to eat. We took her to the doctor. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And I decided, you know what? This is a matter that is beyond me and I need God to step in. So we went to church and I started praying for this child because I felt like, you know what? This is really something that is urgent. The doctors can't help us. And she's going to just keep losing weight eventually. And God knows what's going to happen to this kid. And I'm in church, I'm praying, and I get this image comes to me in my mind. It's like what some would call a vision. And I saw that I was supposed to take my hand and put it on her head. And in that moment, whatever was wrong with my daughter was going to be completely resolve in that moment. And you got to understand, this child, it was going on for a long period of time. We were worried. We were out of our options. And I just was in church, and this image comes to me, and I'm like, okay, that must be God. Let me just do it. So I put my hands on this child's head, and I started seeing that there was this warm light over her head as I was doing it, and that whatever was wrong, God was healing it. I don't know, I've never experienced that in my life, but it was a moment for me personally. And I left out of that church saying to myself, you know what? She's completely restored. This kid is healed, okay? I knew that this kid was healed. Got back in the truck with the family, and I told the family, she's gonna be fine. Whatever was wrong with her, it's history. We went, we bought some food immediately. On the spot, this kid started eating up a storm, like on the spot. See, for me, that was a moment. That was a moment of me proving God being real to myself and to my family. But that became real to me personally. Okay, so you have to come to a place in your own individual lives where you prove God for yourself, not because you grew up in Christianity, not because you grew up in church or your mother, father, sister, brother told you that this is the way, not because of that, but because you personally know from your experience with God that He is. And that same God that ministered to me and touched my daughter has proven Himself time and time again in many other situations. I got stories for days I could tell you guys. But I share that shortly just to show you guys the importance of having God in your life, seeking God. And the way you find God is how? Prayer, the reading of your scriptures. Make time for your spiritual life. Nourish it, develop it, make time for it. Why? It's a vital part of our success. It's where the divine steps in to help us where we're no longer capable of helping ourselves. So I want to encourage you guys to seek God on your own and to really nourish your relationship with God. Start your day with prayer. Start your day talking to God, asking God to really show Himself to you, reveal Himself to you. Okay, and that has been at the center of one of my, success achievements. Having that spiritual part of my life, develop and a reality. That's been a blessing to me. All right, so that's the first M of life, my life management strategy that I want you guys to really embrace. The second M is mind. So the first M was master, God being our master. Nourish it, don't need to let that life. The second M is mind, okay? The human mind. The human mind is like a garden, okay? And based on what you do to the garden determines whether or not it flourishes, determines whether or not it's beautiful. The garden has different trees, leaves, grass, flowers, different things that you plant into it will come up and flourish based on what you put into it. But there's also something that is called weeds that you'll find coming up out of your garden. And it is your job to go into your garden and to pluck out the weeds on a regular basis, right? The human mind, it is imperative that you nourish the human mind on a daily basis. I have a lawn, and my lawn, I water it every single day. If I miss a few days, all of a sudden the grass on my lawn begins to look funny. It begins to get brown. The community that I live in, it's completely beautified with greenery and grass. And if you don't take care of your lawn, they actually give you a fine. Like if I don't make sure my grass is properly taken care of, they actually fine you. You get a ticket and you have to pay a bill. The human mind, I want you guys to see it the same way. You have to stay on top of your mind on a regular basis. You literally have to see it as a a garden that you have to nourish with water daily. And this is why we go over principles on a regular basis. This is why we're constantly coming to you with principles. Why? Because the principles nourish the mind. It helps your mind to make right choices. The human mind is the decision-making station that literally controls your life. Okay? And if there's anything you want, is you want a life that is going somewhere, that is under the guidance and the control, okay, of quality decision-making, okay? And if you are not taking care of your mind and nourishing it with the right wisdom, understanding, principles on a regular basis, the weeds take over the garden. The weeds take over the garden. What are the weeds? The weeds that take over your garden is pretty much pessimism, negative thinking, okay, poor understanding, the negative experiences from your childhood and from life. If you begin to embrace them and take them on as reality and truth, it stops you from achieving. If this is not right, everything else gets affected, okay? Because the mind is like your control tower. And so I want you guys to understand the principles that we give these kids and the principles that we chew on and the books that we read. It's all to go into our understanding, into our mind, and to begin to comb out the weeds, pluck out the weeds from our understanding so that our garden, the garden of our understanding, is beautified and it's taken care of and it has the right stuff in there that we want, okay? And so I gave you guys a list of principles, and it's imperative that you guys know the principles that govern our team, okay? I gave you 1 through 15, and today I'm gonna give you guys another 15 principles that govern our mind, and I need you guys to really write these down. Why? We're gonna pass these on to the younger team. We're going to embrace these as thoughts that help us to make decision-making in our own personal lives. It keeps us on a track of success, growth, and progress. A lot of these principles came from great achievers, okay? If there's anything about success that I've discovered is that success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. It's not a mystery, family. It's not a mystery. The people that have achieved in this world and done great things, they have left clues behind. Number one, they read. They love books. They love books. Why? Because inside of books, they find principles that really help them to go in the right direction, to make the achievements that they make. Okay? The poor and people that are struggling and having the negative results that they don't want out of their life, they oftentimes don't have time for reading. They don't have time for classes like this. They don't make time for it. Why? They're too busy. They're too busy doing all the stuff that's got them where they're at. And they continue to be too busy. Oh, that book, man, I want to read it, but I don't have time. Why? They don't value knowledge. They don't value principles, okay? So they don't have time for the very thing that could set them free from their current crisis and situation. They don't make time for it. They don't see the value of it. And what does the scripture tell us? Scripture tells us, people perish for lack of knowledge. People perish for lack of knowledge. So when a person says to you, I can't read that book, I don't have time, they're saying, I don't have time for the knowledge that's going to rescue me from my current situation. I don't have time. I'm too busy doing all the things that have me in my current situation. And right now, you trying to get me to read a book? I'm sorry, I ain't got time for that. So they're actually voting to remain in their poverty. They're voting to remain in their crisis. They're voting to remain in their situation. Okay? And I want that to be real to you guys. I want you guys to understand why it's so crucial and imperative that you wash your mind, that you comb through your mind with books, with principles, with thoughts that consistently refine it so that you'd be sharp, so that you'd be powerful in your decision making, because your decisions decide destiny. Okay, how do we shape our decisions? With the principles that we embrace in life, with the books that we read in life. When you read a book, let me explain to you guys what you do when you read a book. Sometimes it takes an author 4, 5, sometimes 10 years to create a book. So they're taking 10 years of a life experience, sometimes 20, and they're condensing it into a book, okay? And you now get to access what they learned in 20 years of achieving and failures. You get access to that information in 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on how long you take to read the book. Even if it's a week you take to read the book. You get access to something that it took them 20 years to put together. You get access to it in a few hours. And now those pitfalls, all the errors that those individuals made in their lives, guess what? You get to avoid them. So you get their knowledge plus your knowledge. It puts you ahead of the game, ahead of the game, okay? So I want you guys to understand, this is why it's so imperative that I stress the importance of us being students of life, students of success. All right. I want you guys to write down these principles. We already have principles 1 through 15, okay, as a team. So I want you guys to document these principles. And I don't want this meeting to go beyond 45 minutes, or beyond an hour. So by 11, we're gonna wrap this up. Principle number 16, all right? I want you guys to document this, write this down. The more you talk, the less you hear. The more you talk, the less you hear. Okay, I want you guys to write that down. Okay, the more you talk, the less you hear. Be a good listener, people. Be a good listener. When you come into the presence of a leader, when you come into the presence of an owner of a business or a situation, feel out the room with your ears. Be attentive. Listen to what's going on. If you're busy yapping, you're not learning. You're not digesting what's going on in the room. You're not digesting what's going on in the mind of that person. You could learn so much by being a good listener. Don't be so quick to be opening up your mouth and just yapping all the time. Listen, your kids, you that are parents, okay? Listen to your kids. They're trying to convey to you what's going on the inside of them. Don't always be in this mode of yapping, yapping, yapping. Listen, it will give you clues as to what's going on in the life of that child, okay? Yes, you're the parent, but you don't always want to be a yapper, whereby what they have to share with you doesn't matter because you're the quote unquote parent. No, you got to be a good listener. It's the only way you'll be able to decipher and understand what's going on in the life of that child, so you can now have a solution. But if you're busy always yapping and teaching, you're going to miss out. Those of you in relationships, listen to your spouse, your girlfriend. Be a good listener. Listen when they're expressing pain. Listen when they're expressing excitement. Why? Because if you pay attention and not just be yapping all the time, you can figure out how to give them what they need. You could figure out how to bring a solution to their situation. Listen to your parents. Try to understand what's happening in their heart. Don't always be a yapper. So that's crucial. I mean, there's tons you can gain from that, okay? The more you talk, the less you hear. Now, P17, principle number 17, growth demands change. Write that down, family. Growth demands change, okay? In order for you to go to the next level, of whatever you're involved in right now in life, you have to introduce an element of change. You cannot stay on the same path and expect to grow. No, you're going to have to embrace change, okay? If you are suffering in a particular area, you have to find out what you're doing wrong, and so you have to change the direction that you're going in by getting fresh insight, fresh information in what to do differently. Why? Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep repeating the same results. So what? What's the solution? You have to change. You got to bring and introduce an element of change into that situation in order to experience growth. All right? Growth demands change. Next principle, P number 18, P18, principle 18. You fear what you don't understand. You fear what you don't understand. Okay? You'll always experience fear when there's a lack of understanding. Okay? So seek to understand. You'll always experience fear where there's a lack of understanding. Okay? Whatever you are going after in life, if there's a sense of fear, and all of you know individually what that is, if there's a sense of fear, it's because you lack information. You're lacking an understanding. The minute you begin to create understanding, the fear will run. The fear will go. Okay? So you eliminate fear by introducing understanding. So we fear what we don't understand. Next one, P19. Servanthood is the beginning of greatness. Servanthood is the beginning of greatness. When you guys are finished, I'm going to need you all to just retype this in the group chat for those that are not here. Servanthood is the beginning of greatness. You want to be great in life, family? Serve somebody. Find someone and serve them. Find a group of people and serve them. Give what you have to others. Any company, any business that you want to create, guess what, family? If you find a way to serve humanity, the world will line up to compensate you for it. The world will line up to compensate you for it. People that are selfish, that only think about themselves, they don't make a lot of progress in life because they don't have a servant's heart. It's all about them. When really and truly, if you only stop to think about others, you actually are taking care of yourself when you do that, because you're actually pouring a seed, planting a seed in the life of other people, and it actually grows up and come back and bless you. Embrace servanthood. Don't always think about me, me, me. Find a way to serve others. It actually brings you more happiness and fulfillment. You know, a lot of family members ask, you know, why do you invest time so much in this group? Like, what, are you making money from it? Like, what's the point? I literally had a brother who said to me, is this group making you any money? And I laughed. I looked at him and I laughed, because it's not about money. It's about pouring into the lives of other people. There's a fulfillment and happiness that comes to you when you see a life transform because of something that you gave out, because of something you did. It helps you in such a tremendous way compared to what any dollar amount can do for you. I'm telling you, servanthood is the beginning of greatness. You know, it's like it's like when the lady came to Jesus with her sons and say, Master, promise me this, right? That my sons will sit at your right hand and your left hand in your kingdom. And Jesus looked at her and says, you know, this is not for me to decide. But nevertheless, if you want to be great in the kingdom, become the servant of others. And so Jesus washed his disciples' feet to implement and to show that as great as he was, he took on a position of washing the feet of others, of serving others. I'm telling you, servanthood is an amazing place to create greatness. I'm telling you, and he's extremely great right now, as we know. Okay. Now, next principle, P20, irresponsible habits lead to failure. Irresponsible habits lead to failure. Okay, examine the habits of your life. The ones that are irresponsible, that will lead you down a road of failure. Okay. I had a real issue with with time, and I still struggle with it. And I had this habit of always showing up late to appointments. And one appointment that I didn't keep, it was so crucial. It was so crucial. I lost an entire property. I literally, and it was, I had about $290,000 on the table in that deal. But because I showed up to a meeting late, it cost me that property. And that habit of lateness that I've struggled with for years, because I never learned to nip it in the bud and stop it, it ended up costing me $290,000 because I didn't show up. Someone else showed up in front of me, and the deal was gone by the time I got there. I was about 15 minutes late. It created failure, right? So go through your life, look at the bad habits that you have and deal with them, address them. Don't let them live in your garden. Don't let them exist in your garden. That's a weed that you have to weed out. Bad habits are weeds. They will hurt your life. Weed it out of your garden. What are we doing right now? We're using these principles to dig out those weeds out of your garden. That's what principles do. They go into the garden of your imagination and they dig out all the weeds, the stuff that don't serve you, they dig it out. This is why meetings like this are important, family. This is why books are important, family. They dig out the weeds in your garden and they put you on a better path to achieve your goals and dreams in this journey. Okay? So that one principle is imperative that you understand it. Don't allow negative habits to exist in your world. And it starts up here. All right? It starts up here. All right. Negative thinking is the catalyst of lack, failure, and poverty. That's P21. Write that down, family. Negative thinking is the catalyst of lack, failure, and poverty. Poor thinking, stinking thinking. Okay? Very dangerous to your future. Negative thinking is the catalyst of lack, failure, and poverty. Write that down. Very important. Somebody put that in the family group chat when you get a chance. Okay, we want these principles out there. Make sure you put the number of the principles so the rest of the family can get it. Okay? We want to eliminate negative thinking. Okay? When you say to yourself, you can't do something, you send a message to your entire body saying, this cannot be done. Only to see another person go and make it happen and achieve it. What's the difference? One person embraced the possibility of it being done, another person said it can't. Your mind will help you produce whatever you program it to. Whatever you believe it to, your mind will help you produce that result. Okay? We want to eliminate negative thinking. Vulgarity is the most ignorant form of verbal expression. Vulgarity. Let's deal with the mouth. Let's deal with the mouth, family. Vulgarity is the most ignorant form of verbal expression. People will judge you by what comes out of your mouth. If you curse, use 4-letter languages, okay, it will limit your influence. People will judge you based on what comes out of your mouth. Find a more excellent way to express anger. Can you guys hear me? We got muted out there for a second. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Find a more excellent way to express your anger, family. Okay? Four-letter language. You know, my son, he's a musician, he's making music. And he had a crossroad whether or not he would use vulgar lyrics in his music. And I said to him, I said, son, look at all the great musicians of the world. Look at Michael Jackson. You know, do you hear any F words in his music? And look at his achievement. Michael Jackson has achieved so much as a musician, and there's no curse words in his music. So my son is a millennial, and you know, he's got 2 albums out and he's got a few other singles. And I had to have a real serious sit down with him and say, son, make a commitment to me that you're not gonna have vulgarity in your work. It's not necessary. They buy into this idea that in order for me to be cool, dope, lit, I gotta use vulgar language. It's a lie. It's not necessary. There's a whole audience that you will cut out of your work if they hear those F-bombs coming out of your mouth. There's an entire group of people that will not support you if they hear those F-bombs coming out of your mouth. And the same way it is in the music industry, it's the same way it is in life. Some people will not listen to you if they hear your mouth being filthy with F words and other vulgar language. They won't even pay attention to you. They're like, I don't want that in my life. Next. Why do that? Why limit yourself to a small group of audience who embraces vulgarity as a normal way of speaking? Why limit yourself and your influence to that set of people? Vulgarity is ignorance, people. Vulgarity is the most ignorant form of verbal expression. That's P22. Write that down, family, okay? P23. We got to speed it up here because clock is ticking, all right? P23. Whatever you put out into the world, that's what you get back. Whatever you put out into the world, that's what you get back. It's a seed. It's a seed, family. Whatever actions you put out into the world, that's what you get back. Soft words, right, turns away wrath. If you put rough words out there, that's what's going to come back at you. You know, in our conversation as a family, when we talk, when we communicate, we're gonna upset each other sometimes as a family. We're not gonna share things that other people in the family and the team is gonna like. There's a way to address that. When a person offends you, use the right words, choose the right words. If you put out rough, angry words out there, guess what? That's what's gonna come back at you. And next thing you know, we have an explosion of anger, okay, on board ship. So watch what you put out into the world, in action or in words. Be very careful. Understand you are very, very powerful, family. You're very powerful. And every act that you take brings back the equivalence to you. Okay? All right. Next principle, P24. Think before you act. Think before you act. Okay, what is that saying to us? And we just went through emotional intelligence. Okay, something happens to you. Okay, don't allow your emotional mind to kick in and take authority over your action after that. Allow your intellectual mind to step up and say, okay, I know what I'm feeling right now, okay, but I'm not going to make this move that I'm feeling in reacting to what just happened. I'm going to think through this and I'm going to act according to wisdom. Think before you act. If you just act based on what you feel, family, you're looking for problems. You're going to create problems in your life. You're going to create problems in your life. So we want to think before we act. Okay? P25. Learn when to be silent. It's the law of silence. Okay? Learn the value of silence. Silence is a very powerful weapon. Learn the power of silence. Okay? There's a time for you to be silent. Okay? P26. No pain, no progress. P26. No pain, no progress. I'm sorry, people. In order for you to grow muscle in life, you got to experience some pain. Okay? In order for you to grow muscle in life, you have to experience some pain. In order for you to grow muscle emotionally, sometimes you got to go through some pain. I had a brother. He experienced my sister dying in his arms. A family friend was over at the house, had a gun, playing around, boom, the gun goes off. Shot my 16-year-old sister in her neck. My older brother, Donald, he held her as she was dying in his arms. He said from that moment on, he refused to be weak in life. He made a decision from that moment on that he was going to be emotionally strong to handle whatever life brings to him. It was a turning point in his life. After going through the pain of holding my 16-year-old sister and watching her die, it made him emotionally strong. He had emotional backbone after that. He felt he could face anything in life. Why? He loved her so much. He was so emotionally attached to that child that when she died in his arms, emotionally, it made him tougher. It made him callous. It made him strong to the point where he was like, you know what? I could face almost anything right now. I could almost face losing anything right now in life. Because if I could lose,
Bluetooth mode.
you know, I could afford to lose anything else in life. No pain, no progress. Okay? You have to pay the price of pain. All right, next principle, P27. No section E before section B. And what that simply means is no entertainment before business. Section E is entertainment. No section E before section B. B is business. You have to know, family, when to say, you know what? This is time for business. This is time for me to put in the work. This is not time for entertainment and fun. You have to have that distinction in your life. Some people, whenever there's a party and music, they go straight into party mode, not thinking about the consequences, whether this is a moment for fun and entertainment or a moment for me handling my business. And that's where discipline comes in. You have to know when to implement discipline, family. Okay, discipline is delaying moments of pleasure. Okay, delaying gratification. You got to know when to draw that line. Okay. P28, thoughts have creative power. Your thoughts design your world. Okay, thoughts have creative power. Understand that all the thoughts you allow to exist up here, they transform your world. So it's imperative that your thinking is constantly refined and constantly, you know, under the guidelines of principles so that your life comes out in the way that you desire for it to be. Your thoughts design your world. Thoughts have creative power. P29, principle 29. This is, there's only two more left. P29, don't bite the distraction. Who is a distraction from your goals, your purpose, your dreams in your life right now? Think of a person who is a distraction right now from your goals, your dreams, your purpose. And stop biting that distraction. There's some people that are straight up enemies to your goals, your purpose, your dreams. And when they show up, they create so much distraction from what you're focusing and trying to do that you got no business investing time around those people. Don't bite the distraction. There are certain foods that you know you got no business eating. And every single time you pass that store, you end up going in there and buying it. Don't bite that distraction. Make a list of the things in your life that's a distraction from your goals, your purpose, your dreams. Write it down. Make a list. Okay? Make a list. All right. P30, the last one. Thoughts are things. The last principle that governs our team. Thoughts are things. Family, everything in life started up here. Everything. The life you have right now started up here. Watch this. This plant I'm holding in my hands right now, it started in the mind of a person. What's in your mind? The thought that is most dominant in your mind all day long is what's controlling and designing your life and your world. Everything that I can touch in my background right now once started in the mind of a person. Thoughts are things. It's not just thoughts. It's actual things waiting and hoping that you would give it permission to come into the world. It all starts up here. All right? And I want you guys to really understand the value and the importance of life management and making sure that you are consistently and continuously keeping track of